and most of those electors vote for the state's popular vote anyways. So each state has electors, and those electors equal the same number of representatives in the House and the Senate. So say California has 53 congressional districts, which means it has 53 congresspeople, or House of Representatives, and they have 2 senators. So California has 55 electoral votes. Wyoming, Montana, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, I think that's it, Delaware, and Vermont each have 3 electoral votes, which means they have one, their whole state is a congressional district, so they have one House of Rep in the House of Representatives, and they have 2 senators. So if we look at the map of the Electoral College, there are blue states which are vote mostly Democratic. Those would be California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts. A lot of the Northeast and a lot of the West pretty much vote Democratic. A lot of the red states, which are Republican states, that vote mostly Republican. Texas, the Deep South, usually, what we call the Bible Belt, are Republican states or conservative states. And the Plain states, talking Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. Now, the problem with the Electoral College is, or some of the reasons what happens with the Electoral College is candidates kind of spend most in the battleground states like Florida, Ohio, Colorado, New Mexico, New Hampshire, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Missouri, sometimes Virginia, North Carolina, too. But those states see the most candidates. They rarely ever come to California or to Texas or to New York, because those states are already mostly gonna vote either Democratic or Republican, and they already know the outcome. So they don't. Most candidates will spend most of their time at in the battleground states. Now, how the Electoral College works today is that each state selects their slate of electors. Okay, usually 48 of those states. Okay, let's see if we go to another. 48 of those states have the winner-take-all system. Okay, and that means if the candidate wins the popular vote, then they win all of the electoral votes of that state. Okay, so if say Obama won California in 2012, he wins all 55 of the electoral votes. Okay. Now, 2 states have what you call a congressional district plan. That's Nebraska and Maine. And they go by, if they win a district, that gets an electoral vote, and then the person who wins the popular vote of the whole state gets the 2 senator votes. So say Nebraska, let's just say Nebraska votes, 1 district went for Obama, 2 districts went to Mitt Romney, okay, and then Mitt Romney wins the popular vote in Nebraska. Mitt Romney would get 4 electoral votes, Obama would get 1 electoral vote. But only 2 states have the have the congressional district method, they call it. Okay, so usually 48 states have, if you win the popular vote, you win all the states' electoral votes, which is the winner-take-all system. Okay. After, let's see, the vote for president is in November, the first Tuesday of the month, and the popular vote for president, if it's a presidential election, um, is taken, and then in December, following the November election, the electors meet in their states in December and mail their votes to the vice president, okay, who's also the president of the Senate. Okay, the votes counted in January when the congressional session opens and is reported by the vice president. Okay, and thus the vice president has the duty of announcing who is the next president. If no candidate receives an electoral college majority, okay, the election goes to the House of Representatives, who choose among the top 3 electoral vote winners. Okay, there's only one state per vote, or one vote per state. Sorry. And that means if it goes to the House of Representatives, it means that Wyoming, who has 3 congressional district or 3 electoral votes, has just as much power as a state like California or Texas or Pennsylvania, New York, and Florida that have way more electoral votes than them. So pretty unfair process, but that is how it is in the Constitution. That's how it's stated. That's happened a few times, but the last time was 1824. Okay, let's look at some problems of the Electoral College. The popular vote winner may lose the election, which happened in 2000. Okay, when George W. Bush beat Al Gore. Al Gore won the popular vote, I think, by a little over 500,000 votes, but lost the electoral vote by 5 votes, I believe. Yes, 271 votes to George Bush, electoral votes to George Bush, and 266 to Al Gore. Now, Florida was a congressional district state, used the congressional district method. Al Gore would have got 8 electoral votes, which actually would have propelled him into the presidency. But they have a winner-take-all system, and that's where all the problems were in the 2000 election. So one thing is, popular vote winner may lose the election, which happened in 2000. It's happened before too. One of the reasons is smaller states are overrepresented. Okay, so there's a couple biases in the Electoral College. The smaller states are overrepresented, which because 2 votes are based on senators. So really, 1 electoral vote in Wyoming, the ratio is 181,423 people to 1. Okay, in California it's 672,030 to 1. So basically, a lot of the smaller states are overrepresented in the Electoral College. And the winner-take-all system is another reason why the popular vote winner may lose the election. 48 states have the winner-take-all, which means you can get a candidate that wins 51% of the popular vote, but takes all the Electoral college votes out of there. So you could actually have a plurality there. Okay, we talked about the House of Reps will decide if the Electoral College is tied, because you have to have 271 electoral votes. And the electors may be faithless, which means it's never going to happen. There has been some electoral delegates that vote based on their own preference and not their state's preference. It's never really affected a election before anyways, but it's happened a couple times. A lot of states have laws against it. Some states don't, but it's never affected in a presidential election. Okay. Some of the reasons, or some of the reforms, I should say, of the Electoral College. The district plan is one of the reforms. It's one elector for each congressional district and 2 for the statewide vote. Okay, so basically those 2 votes are for the Senate, the senators, and 1 for each congressional district. The problem is with the district plan is if you want to reform, you want it to, the reform is to get the popular vote winner, to make sure that the popular vote winner wins. Sometimes if they looked at past elections, especially the 2000 election, George W. Bush still would have won the electoral vote, even if all the states were congressional district method. Okay, the proportional plan, percentage of popular vote gets the same percentage of electors. And the problem with that is that you're going to have a plurality. Okay, and you don't really want a president to go in to the presidency, a new president, with a plurality of the votes, which means he got the majority of the votes, but the majority isn't over 50%. Then there's the national bonus plan. The national bonus plan actually gives the popular vote winner 102 bonus electors. Not a lot of, not a very good plan. Kind of dumb. A lot of people don't think it's a very good reform. And then the direct election, which is probably one of the bigger reforms that gets a lot of press. And the direct election is basically based on the popular vote. It would take away the Electoral College. So there would be no Electoral College, just the popular vote. It encourages the third parties to run, but also, again, you may not get a majority winner, and you might get a plurality. And what do you do after that? I mean, do you want a president with just a plurality of the votes, or do you have to have a runoff? So there's a lot of questions with the popular vote winner too. Okay, that's about it for the Electoral College.